I'll acknowledge our folks in a bit. I want to start with a little bit of history, if I may. Last summer, but we have a new podium here. This is, I don't know where mine went, but it's quite nice. Last summer, when Justice Barry Albin reached the mandatory retirement age, our Supreme Court lost a legend. I want to thank him for his service, and I must also thank Judge Jack Sabatino, who has honorably filled his shoes on the court over the past 9 months. When Justice Albin joined the court in 2002, there wasn't much of a learning curve. As his longtime colleague, Justice Janie LaVecchia, said of him, and I quote Janie, "In terms of the law, his breadth of legal knowledge was vast. That came from his past experience as a litigator in a great variety of civil matters and as a prosecutor and criminal defense attorney." Justice Albin brought all of those experiences to bear during his tenure on the court. And while there are few people who have had as varied a career as Justice Albin, as I have made my selection for our Supreme Court, I have sought to ensure the justices I nominate represent each aspect of our legal system. And I've chosen, just again for context, a federal prosecutor and law firm leader in Fabiana Pierre-Louis. Hi, Tim. An experienced appellate and civil rights lawyer in Rachel Weiner Apter, and we were all together for Rachel's ceremonial swearing in last week, and a civil litigator and distinguished trial and appellate judge in Doug Fischelli. As I undertook the search to find Justice Albin's successor, I wanted to ensure that his perspectives as a trial practitioner and criminal defense attorney would not leave the court with him. I wanted someone who didn't just learn how our judicial system works in a textbook, but had the real-world experience of fighting for their clients and giving them the representation that they are entitled to under the law. After an exhaustive search, I want to thank Paramel Garg, our chief counsel, and George Helmy, chief of staff in particular. I'm pleased to announce I have found that person. Today, I am honored and thrilled to nominate Michael Noriega to serve as Associate Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court. Michael is an experienced criminal defense and immigration attorney who is a partner at the law firm of Bramnick, Rodriguez, Grabas, Arnold, and Mangan, which represents individuals throughout our state who are hurt, sick, or in trouble. And I'm incredibly honored that my friend and the senior partner of that law firm, Senator John Bramnick, is with us today. John, great to have you. Michael also serves as the president-elect of the Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers of New Jersey, a clear signal of the respect the members of the criminal bar have for him. And in this, he follows in the footsteps, again, of Justice Albin, who served as president of that association just before he was appointed to the Supreme Court. If confirmed, Michael would make history as the first former public defender to sit on our state's Supreme Court, which is a big deal, Michael. Amen. In this, he would follow in the footsteps of a different justice, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who became the first former public defender to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court last year. Folks, that experience matters. Public defenders see firsthand how the law impacts ordinary people. A public defender does not get to choose their clients. More often than not, they represent individuals from our most marginalized communities in their greatest moment of need. Regardless of their own personal beliefs or opinions, public defenders represent their clients to the best of their ability. That is their sworn obligation as officers of the court. That is an obligation that we hold sacred because in America, every defendant is guaranteed legal representation regardless of their ability to pay. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, powerful or powerless, whether you're struggling to make ends meet or the former President of the United States. It's your constitutional right to get a fair shot in court. Michael understands that because he has lived it. During his 5 years as a public defender in Essex County, he represented thousands of clients in all manner of cases and tried roughly 25 jury trials. This perspective will be an important complement to the other justices on the court who have served as prosecutors. And their combined experiences will help the court develop fair and just criminal jurisprudence. But Michael's experience extends far beyond his time as a public defender. He is also a seasoned immigration attorney and personal injury lawyer. In fact, looking at the Ukrainian flag that Tammy and I were given in February by Ukrainian high school students in Lviv, you mentioned, Michael, that you've done a fair amount of immigration work with Ukrainian immigrants over the past year plus, virtually none of whom had the resources to pay, but they needed that representation, and you were there for them. Michael has argued over a half dozen appeals at the appellate division and a couple of cases before the New Jersey Supreme Court. And Michael spent 8 years as an adjunct professor at the Seton Hall School of Law, training students in appellate advocacy. While he is currently a partner at one of New Jersey's leading law firms, Michael also ran a successful solo practice for 6 years, where he continued to try cases, including jury trials. So he understands the rewards and challenges that the thousands of solo practitioners throughout our state face on a daily basis. And his story is a quintessentially Jersey and American story. The son of Peruvian immigrants, Michael was born in Weehawken and raised in Union City, New Jersey. He graduated from Rutgers University and received his law degree from Seton Hall. And his values are quintessentially Jersey values. After finding opportunity himself, he has dedicated his life to standing up for others, not just in his career, but in his spare time. For 7 years, he provided pro bono representation to young victims of human trafficking facing deportation, some of them, by the way, only children. And he is currently the board president of Sanar Wellness Institute, a nonprofit in Newark that helps victims of human trafficking, domestic abuse, and other forms of violence. To borrow Michael's own words, he works with those at the most unimaginable crossroads. He only strives to help. In recognition of his compassion and extraordinary talents, in 2019, Michael was named Professional Lawyer of the Year by the New Jersey State Bar Association. That is a recognition that has so far eluded me. Today, Michael is a proud resident of Fanwood in Union County and an active member of the Union County Bar Association. And I think, notwithstanding everything I've just said, perhaps most importantly, he and his wife, Melissa, who's with us. Melissa, what an honor to meet you and be with you. A school psychologist, I might add. They have 4 daughters, each of whom are with us today. Emma, Abigail, Rebecca, and Catherine, but please call me Katie. Let's hear it for the Noriega family. And as the parents of 4 children ourselves, I know there is no greater challenge and no more satisfying reward. And if all of this weren't enough, we have Michael's mom, Terry, with us, and his mother-in-law, Amelia, with us. Great to have you both. During the vetting process, and certainly since this started to leak out over the weekend, we heard from a number of Michael's former colleagues from throughout his career. and every single one of them said they could think of no one with higher character or more integrity. They all noted not only his commitment to justice, but also his fundamental kindness and decency. My judicial advisory panel, which is chaired by former Chief Justice and dear friend Jim Zazali, was proud to unanimously recommend Michael. And I look forward to the review of the State Bar's Judicial and Prosecutorial Appointments Committee prior to submitting his formal nomination to the Senate. And again, I want to thank John for his being here today and leadership, and I also want to acknowledge, as I know John knows, the Senate President wanted to be here today, could not, and he's a big fan of Michael's. So I want to thank Senate President Scuteri. I know the individuals I nominate to serve on the New Jersey Supreme Court will shape the state for future generations long after my time in office has come to an end. I can think of no responsibility more solemn than finding the right justices to strengthen our Supreme Court's tradition of excellence. I'm very proud of my prior nominees, both for their credentials as well as for their character. I'm equally proud to put Michael's name forward today, and I am certain that he will make an outstanding justice. And now it is my privilege to introduce the man himself. Ladies and gentlemen, our nominee for Associate Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court, I give you Michael Noriega. Michael.
Governor Murphy, thank you. It is with great humility and a deep sense of responsibility that I stand before you today, honored to accept the nomination for the position of Associate Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court. On behalf of myself and my entire family, thank you for inviting me on this unbelievable journey. There are no words that can fully capture the tremendous privilege that I feel in being nominated. I am humbled to find myself once again called upon to serve this great state and its people. Our Supreme Court has received national recognition for its intellectual rigor and its forward-thinking decisions. The opportunity to join its ranks is an incredible vote of confidence in my legal career that I have built over the past 2 decades. I promise that I will do everything in my power to make your choice a meaningful one. I could not proceed without first thanking Governor Murphy's staff, and in particular Parmal Garg, for his professionalism and his support. I say to you 2 things. I regret that we will likely have little interaction if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed, and I am also very sorry about the Knicks. Any reservations I had about engaging in and proceeding down a judicial path were resolved when I met the governor's staff. They care deeply about selecting the right candidate above all else. It has been my privilege and honor to work with them in reaching this moment. To the Governor's Judicial Advisory Panel, led by former Chief Justice Zazali, for those who are unaware, as the Governor just mentioned, this is a panel comprised of former Chief Justices and Associate Justices of the Supreme Court, whose love of the court runs so deep that they continue to participate in the selection of its future members to ensure consistency in its great legacy. I hope that one day I could be in that same position to continue to maintain the excellence of our court. A personal thank you to Justice Barry Albin himself, whose seat I would ascend to if confirmed. Just last week, I met him at an event where he had received an honor, an award given to members of the bar who exemplify professionalism, dedication, and passion to the law, an accolade few deserve more. I can only hope to meet the bar established by Justice Albin. I also want to thank members of the State Bar's Judicial and Prosecutorial Appointments Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee led by Chairman Stack, and all of the members of the Senate that will give their time and attention in honor of their constitutional obligation to provide advice and consent. I must extend a special thank you to Senator Bramnick. Thank you for your steadfast support, and I'm especially grateful to you for inviting me to be a member of your law firm for the past 9 years. The decision changed my life, and I would not be who I am today had I not met you. To my family, my friends, my colleagues, I'm especially grateful to all of you for your love and support. Please understand that you are the reason why I'm here today. You have been with me during the most important moments of my life, and I thank each of you for being on this journey with me. To my amazing wife, Melissa, with whom I will celebrate 20 years of joyful marriage just next week, I could not imagine this life without you. Everything we have built is because of your strength. Thank you also for the greatest gift of our 4 beautiful daughters. The 5 of you are my life, and everything I do is for all of you. Thank you, Emma, Abby, Becca, Katie, and Melissa. You are my 5 best friends, and I love you all the more than you will ever know. To Amelia, my amazing mother-in-law, thank you for being a wonderful friend and confidant. I wanted to be a judge from the beginning of my legal career. I even investigated an LLM program while at Seton Hall, not really understanding exactly how one becomes a judge, and assuming it was a separate track in law school. It's something my father and I discussed often at the prospect of becoming a judge. I returned from Rutgers University to live in Union City at home during law school. My older brother Carlos had just moved out, and my younger brother Joe had taken over the Carlos's room at the far end of the house, leaving the room adjoining mine empty. So I took it over and made it into an office. The first thing I did was place a giant Seton Hall sticker with the golden scales of justice emblazoned on them on my wall. My dad came in and jokingly, perhaps presciently, began to call the room the courtroom, and he began to call me judge. Besides that, the business that he and my mother owned and operated was right downstairs, so even after the long and hard days, he would come up and stop in the courtroom, and he would excitedly want to ask what I was studying. We would often discuss the legal issues that were coming up in the cases that I was reading. We even once spent 3.5 hours arguing over adverse possession. On the night before he collapsed, and a week before he passed away, I called my parents to check in. I spoke to my mom before she handed the phone to my dad, and he would later end the call as he always did. I love you, hijito. Bye, Judge. He was the best man I've ever known. My father, Carlos Noriega, together with my wonderful mother, Terry Noriega, who's here with us today, made the greatest sacrifice of their lives in leaving Peru. Careers as doctors, their extended family, and everything else behind. They came here in the hopes of a better life in the United States for them and a better life for their sons. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for absolutely everything. And here I stand, with the possibility of achieving the highest honor of a legal career. I have absolutely loved being a lawyer. I started in the public defender's office on September 8th, 2003, and that was the day I walked into the courtroom for the very first time as an attorney. I was handed 16 files, I stepped into a holding cell, and I made my first appearance on the record, and I argued my first case before the court after a 10-minute conversation with my client. He told me that day that the reason that he had violated probation was because his grandmother had died. That was also the first time I lost a legal argument on the record in court that day. The judge correctly pointed out that this client's same grandmother had died on 2 previous occasions, and he was not accepting this excuse. My client was led away in handcuffs, but not before seeing my crestfallen face, and he stopped to pat me on the back, saying, "It's okay, you tried." I hope that I have done more than try during this career. I pray and hope that I've had a sincerely positive impact on our legal system and the lives of the people that I have represented over these past 20 years. but now my commitment is to all of the people of New Jersey. As I bring to bear my knowledge and experience to help shoulder this enormous responsibility that I am honored to undertake. And it is with that in mind that I accept this nomination. With humility and with pride. Today I vow to work harder than I have ever worked before, to honor my parents' sacrifice, to leave my mark, and to uphold my family's tradition of respect for the laws of this wonderful country, pride in its opportunities, and devotion to its history. I would like to again thank you, Governor, for this amazing opportunity, and I look forward to working with the members of the Senate for their consideration of my nomination. Thank you so very much.
Michael, extraordinary remarks and, more importantly, an extraordinary life. And to you and your incredible family, we take our hat off to you. Before I introduce our final speaker, my dear friend, Senator John Bramnick, it is somewhat of a coincidence, but I'm signing a bill today that John has championed. And this is the so-called Seinfeld bill, S-921. And this is a bill that makes you have to, when you call up somebody at home, when you're calling them up in the middle of their dinner, you have to say, I think within the first 30 seconds, John, you have to say who you are and why you're calling. And it's based off a hilarious Seinfeld skit. If you look that up, you're going to enjoy it. Both Michael and I mentioned the Judicial Advisory Group that's chaired by former Chief Justice Zali. Importantly, it is a bipartisan group. It is blind to any partisan considerations, and it's an extraordinary lineup. Debbie Poritz, by example, another former Chief Justice, is an active member. And it's really a special group of folks who come together for no compensation, for nothing other, as than Michael said, their passion for our Supreme Court, which is viewed to be the gold standard of American states' Supreme Courts. And I think likewise, the very presence of Senator Bramnick today, never mind his close relationship as a colleague and dear friend of Michael's, but the very statement that I think we make today in Michael's nomination, a Democrat and a Republican standing on either side of him, is a statement that should not be lost on anyone, because that's the way it should be. With that, please help me welcome an extraordinary leader, Senator John Bramnick.
When your staff called, they said we were here for the Seinfeld bill. Approximately 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the Chief of Staff, George Helmy. He says, when can you get together? I said, sure, when do you want to get together? And normally, how busy he is, it's 2-3 weeks out. He said, are you available tomorrow? I go, I'm okay Friday morning. He goes, we'll be there. I said, you'll be where? Westfield. I said, you're coming to Westfield. How about 8 o'clock in the morning at the Westfield Diner? He said, okay. Can you imagine? Normally, you're negotiating the Chief of Staff, and it's on their terms weeks in advance. I see two black SUVs pull up in the Westfield Diner. Now, I can't imagine what possibly they want to meet with me, a Republican senator, 8 in the morning. I figured it couldn't be good. George turns to me and goes, Mike Noriega, possible Supreme Court Justice. And I did what everyone does when you hear the name Mike Noriega. I love Mike. No matter where you go, no matter who you talk to, no matter whether it was 20 years ago or 5 minutes ago, people go like this, wow, I love Mike. Part of that is something we're missing in our country today, and that's humility. Somehow the virtue of humility is disappearing. Well, when you have a Supreme Court justice like Mike Noriega, that may be the path back to a country and a state where we have more humility and more civility. So let me start by congratulating you and being the person that you are. And before I continue, just one brief note. I am friends with Tammy Murphy and Phil Murphy. That's a Republican being friends with a Democrat. And we need more of that here and across this country. More every day. And I'm proud of it, despite some of the people on social media. I'm lucky to have both of you as friends. I'm serious. Substantively, this is a lawyer who represents real people. Representing real people is an everyday task that teaches you and makes you more interested and a bigger heart because you represent real people. He has the courtroom experience, the intellect, the integrity, and the work ethic. But his warmth, humility, and compassion is palpable. When you meet him, you can feel the love he has for man and mankind. And this is a trait that you cannot fake. This is the real guy. He is a common sense, smart, and I'm going to say it, a beautiful human being who deserves to be a Supreme Court justice. Congratulations, Governor, to making a brilliant pick for a court that deserves Mike Noriega.
As they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. Again, Michael, congratulations. I know you and our team are looking forward to working with John and his colleagues in the Senate over the coming weeks. This is a really special day obviously for you and your extraordinary family, all the women in your life. But it is, I think, for us as well as the state of New Jersey, a really, really special day. So to each and every one of you, thank you for being here.